I thought the strange man watching my house every night was just a lost neighbor until I found my own picture inside his car. I first noticed him on a Tuesday evening while watering my front lawn in a quiet Ohio suburb, the kind of neighborhood where nothing ever really happens and everyone waves at each other out of habit. A dark blue sedan was parked across the street with its engine running, headlights off, windows slightly tinted. At first, I assumed it belonged to someone visiting a neighbor, but something about the way it stayed there, unmoving, night after night, made my skin crawl. Every evening around the same time, the car would appear. Sometimes the driver would sit for 20 minutes, sometimes an hour, never stepping out, never making eye contact. My wife told me I was overthinking it, that paranoia grows easily in peaceful places, but the uneasy feeling in my chest refused to disappear. One night, while taking out the trash, I accidentally locked eyes with the man inside the car. He didn't look away. He simply stared, expression blank, like he was studying me. That was the moment fear finally sank in. A few days later, the car disappeared, and I felt relief wash over me, thinking the strange chapter was finally over. But that relief didn't last. Early one morning, I noticed fresh tire tracks near my driveway, as if someone had slowly pulled in and backed out during the night. My security camera showed nothing unusual, just a brief shadow crossing the lens around 2 a.m. I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been closer to my home than I realized. That afternoon, while walking my dog through the neighborhood, I noticed the same blue sedan parked behind a grocery store with the driver's door slightly open. My heart pounded as curiosity pushed me closer. I told myself I was being ridiculous, but my feet kept moving. When I glanced inside the car, my breath caught in my throat. On the passenger seat was a printed photograph of me standing in my front yard, taken from across the street. It was the same pose, the same clothes I had worn days earlier. Someone had been watching me closely enough to capture that image. Fear turned into urgency. I called the police immediately and showed them the photo. They ran the license plate and discovered the car had been reported stolen 2 weeks earlier in a neighboring county. Before they could trace the owner, the sedan vanished that night. The officers increased patrols in my area and advised me to stay alert. 2 nights later, just after midnight, motion sensors triggered in my backyard. The security camera captured a hooded figure moving toward my back door. Police arrived within minutes and caught the man trying to jump the fence. When they searched him, they found multiple printed photos of my house, my daily routines written in a small notebook, and a set of lock-picking tools. During questioning, it was revealed that he had mistaken me for someone else, a man who owed a large sum of money to dangerous people. My quiet life had nearly collided with someone else's nightmare. After that night, the neighborhood felt different. The same streets, the same houses, but my sense of safety had changed forever. I installed better cameras, reinforced my doors, and learned to trust my instincts more than comfort. Sometimes danger doesn't arrive loudly. Sometimes it watches silently from across the street, waiting for the right moment. I was lucky, luckier than I ever realized. And every time I water my lawn now, I scan the road carefully, reminding myself that awareness can be the difference between an ordinary day and a life-altering disaster.
For a few weeks after the arrest, life slowly returned to something that felt normal. The police assured us the man had been acting alone and that there was no further threat. My wife began sleeping through the night again. The neighborhood kids rode their bikes freely, and the quiet Ohio evenings felt peaceful once more. I tried to convince myself the fear was only leftover adrenaline, a shadow of something that had already passed. But deep down, I knew something still wasn't right. One evening, while locking the front door, headlights flickered across the living room wall. A silver SUV was parked in the exact same spot where the blue sedan used to sit. Different vehicle, same behavior. Engine running, lights off, no movement inside. My stomach tightened instantly. I stood behind the curtain watching the dark outline of a driver through the windshield, feeling that familiar sense of being watched return. The SUV came back the next night and the night after that, always silent, always still. I reported it to the police again, but without clear plates or visible proof, there was little they could do. I began changing my daily routine, leaving the house at different times, using the garage instead of the driveway, and taking different routes when walking the dog. The more cautious I became, the more I sensed someone adjusting right along with me. One afternoon at the grocery store, I found a folded piece of paper tucked under my windshield wiper. There was no message, only a strange black symbol drawn in the corner, a circle with a slash through it. I didn't understand its meaning, but my hands shook as I held it. It felt like a warning. That night, around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with a motion alert from the backyard camera. When I opened the live feed, a tall figure stood near the fence, staring directly into the camera lens. He didn't move or hide his face. He simply stood there, silent and unblinking, as if daring me to look back. Suddenly, the screen went black. The Wi-Fi signal dropped completely. I woke my wife and called the police immediately. When officers arrived, the figure was gone, but fresh tire tracks near the alley suggested a quick escape. One officer looked at me seriously and said this didn't feel random. The next morning, a detective contacted me with new information. The man arrested earlier had shared my address with someone else before being caught, someone more dangerous, someone who believed I still had value as leverage. What started as mistaken identity had now escalated into something intentional. The detective advised temporary relocation and increased monitoring. For the first time, I realized I wasn't just being watched anymore, I was being targeted. We moved temporarily into a small roadside motel on the edge of town, the kind with buzzing hallway lights and thin curtains that never fully block the outside glow. Sleep came in broken pieces. Every passing car sounded like a threat. On the third night, just after 3 a.m., my phone lit up with an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. A calm male voice spoke quietly. He said they had been trying to reach me and that I had something they wanted. I told him he had the wrong person. He laughed softly and ended the call. Minutes later, headlights swept across the motel window. A dark SUV rolled slowly into the parking lot and stopped a few spaces from our door. I quietly moved my wife into the bathroom and locked it, then dialed emergency services and placed the phone on speaker. A slow knock echoed against the door. The man outside said they only wanted to talk. I replied that the police were already on the way. The door handle rattled as his patience thinned. Before anything else could happen, flashing red and blue lights flooded the parking lot. Unmarked police vehicles blocked the exits, and officers rushed in, weapons drawn. The two men froze. One tried to run but was stopped instantly. The other dropped to his knees. The dispatcher confirmed officers had tracked the call and positioned units nearby based on previous intelligence. The situation ended as quickly as it began. Later that morning, detectives explained that the men were connected to the same criminal network as the first suspect. They had believed I possessed information linked to a missing associate, information I never had. I was simply the wrong name in the wrong place. With the arrests made and evidence secured, the threat was officially over. When we finally returned home days later, the house felt calmer, almost lighter. The street looked the same, but my perspective had changed. Fear had taught me awareness, patience, and gratitude for ordinary moments. I stood in the driveway breathing in the cool air, realizing how close ordinary life can come to danger without warning. Sometimes the greatest danger isn't what we see